Okay, that was Mushoku Tensei episode 20. Man, that was... So, we are recording this in the morning before we start our day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried that there was going to be, like, a big, like, turn at that, like, end of the episode there when we got to see a little bit more of Zanoba. But I'm so happy it wasn't, man. That was, like, the perfect way to start my day.
It felt like the ending, and then you go back to the carriage, and I got scared for a second, actually.
Yeah, but what a great episode, man. That entire Rudy, Lilia, Aisha storyline this episode, I loved it so much. And you know why I loved it? I really think that it reassured me on Rudy's character. I love what he said to her. And I love that he chopped her on the head and said that she shouldn't be thinking that way.
I loved his reaction to how she was talking.
Yeah.
Like, he honestly was like, he was hearing what she was saying, and obviously we were being shown things. And his first thought is like, Lilia, what are you teaching this kid?
Yeah.
You know? And then chop. And it's like, this is his little sister. He doesn't want to think about her like that. He doesn't want her to be saying things like that.
I'm just very happy because, like, I'm in, like, this, like, different mindset that I could easily, like, see Rudy being in. Like, oh, this isn't my real family. I'm in a different world. Like, what, like, I never want to see that. Like, I never want to go 5 steps back.
Yeah,
you know?
It's almost like, wouldn't that have been something that Rudy, you know, when we first met him?
Yeah. And
I
think that
more openly.
This show has built characters like that I love, like Eris and Ruijerd, sure, and Roxy and like Paul, but I'm finding myself very like fragile in terms of Rudy.
Mm-hmm.
And like because I'm really enjoying his character, and I think they've done a great and wonderful job. And because of that and how delicate you have to be with what they're doing, I'm terrified that like anything like horrible like would happen to it, and I'm just really it sounds so weird to say, I'm really proud like
I can't even begin to imagine how hard it must have been to write a character such as Rudy and write it so that it keeps the viewer in this place of both liking the character, being proud of the character's growth, but also like having full awareness of the major problems with this character and the past life of this character, and still want to watch their journey even though we have that knowledge. It's a very like fragile and delicate kind of story to be telling, and a person for us to look at. And I find it so refreshing because I feel like main characters in stories are often either just this like really marshmallow for you to put your own kind of to immerse by inserting yourself into their position, or they're just this super sweet, do no wrong angel that actually lacks depth. And so it's never, if you, a lot of shows, if you ask someone what their favorite character from that show is, a lot of times they're not going to say that main character because the characters surrounding that main character have the complexity, the depth, the emotional kind of roller coasters, the backstories, and the main character sometimes is just more like either
that
a
solid
device.
Rock.
It's a solid rock of sweetness, basically, or it's a device for the viewer to like insert themselves in the story and relate and feel like they're a part of it. And Rudy's definitely not either of those things. And it's very refreshing. I feel like it's so fun to witness a story from a perspective that it is not relatable to you. It's like when you pick up books as a kid, like did you pick up books that were like the main character was similar to you? Like, but no, I read books from a wide variety of like main characters, not just like young girls when I was a kid.
I think that what they are doing with Rudy's like familial relationships is really interesting and different too, right? Because as close as last episode, we had the dialogue about, well, it's not your real family, is it? Like, and like he doubled down that this is who he's talking about, you know, that's what he's considering his family. And I'm just really loving that that's the route we're going. And like, especially right now in my life, the whole like I'm like, I tend to find connections in everything, right? But the whole like little sister.
I mean, that's what this stuff is for.
Yeah, I know. But the little sister, big brother, you don't like know, like you've only heard of this person, don't know them too well. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know, that whole thing's like connecting to me and affecting me right now too. But I absolutely love it. And I love that there's a little bit of depth to Aisha's character too. I might see a comparison between Aisha and Lilia. Like Aisha had known for seemingly quite some time that Rudy was who Rudy was. And in a similar boat, I think that Lilia only was saying certain things to Aisha because I think that Lilia had an assurance in her head that when that time came and she was behind a closed door and listening in on their conversation, that Rudy would step up and instill like a
it's
big
almost
brother
like
wisdom.
Parenting to Rudy in the same moment that she's parenting to Aisha.
Yeah,
which is very interesting. I mean, Lilia's the one character from the family that knew who Rudy was. Like actually, like knew, you know, the dark side of Rudy.
Yeah,
she knew that from when he was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't it be easier for her to kind of parent him in the best way if she's the one that actually truly understands him?
Yeah.
And so this really is a moment where it's great to bring up that like this is kind of like a purposeful like, and the way she was kind of just listening in, like she knew how this was gonna go.
Yeah. Man, starting at the beginning of the episode, when Lilia goes forward to like hold Aisha, that kind of like took me aback for a second because it gave us a couple things. We now know that like who's with who, like and like how it works definitively. I mean, it was pretty obvious to assume whoever's touching each other, but it's really cool that we got it here because it shows Lilia's like, I don't know if Lilia has more knowledge than we know, or it was just that motherly instinct of like, I don't know what's happening, but just in case, I'm going to shield you from it and protect you. I thought that was really crazy because Aisha was even like, Mom, what? And it was
because she thought it was pretty too. Like she was like, whoa.
But we don't see like Paul react. We don't see Zenith and her reaction here. It was interesting. And then they showed up in the bottom of a lake, you know?
I love Lilia's character.
I'm scared of where Zenith is.
Okay, so if we're going... I was hoping that Sylphie and Zenith were hopefully with each other, so it was like 2, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Ghislaine can handle herself. I think it's okay that she is alone, probably. Most definitely alone. Maybe
Zenith
not now,
was a member of the Fangs of the Black Wolf too, right?
I'm talking for Sylphie's sake.
Gotcha.
I don't want Sylphie to be alone.
Yeah.
Because of what we know, what's happening to other children from that village that we've already come across, and just the dangers of what can happen. I mean, Lilia and Aisha just saw the kingdom, knew that they had a friend there, went, and then suddenly they were locked in a dungeon.
Yep.
You know, so it's like this unpredictability that I am worried if Sylphie is alone. I mean, Sylphie knows magic, so that's great. I mean, obviously
a little bit.
Yes, but still, she knows some, and I'm sure she's been working on it practicing since Rudy left to impress him and be able to go to school with him, possibly. You know, if that's what she wants. And so, you know, she has some things under her belt to protect herself, but still, I don't know how she'd handle waking up alone. You know, that's another element. Like, sure, you might have some tools under your belt and some weapons, but that waking up alone when your whole life you've kind of been following this one person and then also waiting for them to come back.
Yeah. You're
already like, maybe that's what it is she will feel mentally like she's not alone because she's been thinking of Rudy this whole time.
Yeah.
But still, I'm worried about her. Not necessarily worried about Zenith because I think Zenith could probably handle herself.
Yeah.
Even if we just see her use healing magic, I highly believe that Zenith could totally like annihilate someone if she needed to.
I can see them going one of like two obvious ways, at least with Sylphie's character. One I really don't want, which is her back in the role of being bullied. Like in being in some place where she's just overwhelmed by like what's going on, and then she is in a similar situation to where Lilia was, right? Or she could like have taken this in stride and be like a complete badass wherever she ended up. That would be so cool.
And you know why that would feel good? Right before we got to Sharon Kingdom, we were talking about, and Rudy was talking about, the reality that some of his family could be in a very bad situation.
Yeah.
And then we get that. We already got it. We got that with Lilia and Aisha. You know, we already got the bad scenario of them being locked in a dungeon and not treated well. So we already checked family not in good situation. And so I'm thinking,
hopefully,
in terms of storytelling, that this Mushoku Tensei could totally make the choice now to be like, oh, now we're going to show, like you said, Sylphie in this badass situation instead of in like a horrible situation.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking to see that Sylphie left, you know, something for Rudy for his birthday.
And so now he has two treasured objects.
I don't know where Lilia was keeping that in terms of teleportation, you know, when the mana disaster happened. But wherever it was, I respect her.
Oh my god.
Right?
How did she have this with her?
I don't know. She always carries it on her,
apparently. You know how like some people have the like little like knife strap underneath their dress? She has like a strap to hold the box.
Like around the ankle.
And since she has a big skirt, you can't like tell.
I love it. I want to talk a little bit about Zanoba.
Oh, the Decapitator Prince.
Yes. The fact that he is the Decapitator Prince is a conversation in of itself, right? Uh-huh. I don't know why. I don't know how that happens. But I also, at the same time, don't at all think he's a Rudy situation. Like a...
No.
Yeah,
he's himself.
I wish that I could have been in the room when this man discovered that Roxy actually had 3 arms. Bro probably felt like he was in the Da Vinci Code. And like he just like, you know, just solved like a cryptex, you know, and it just was like, oh my god, what? No, I broke it. This must have been an accident. Mm-hmm. And then he takes it off and he sees that it's intentional. Mm-hmm. Oh my god. See, if I'm putting myself in Zanoba's position and I discover this, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, it's a 3rd arm. What like intelligence and magnificence must go into the crafting work to be able to think of such intricacies. You didn't even see any like clip marks or anything. It was seamless. And how ignorant must you be? Obviously he needs a teacher because he saw this incredible craftsmanship and then thought that there was a mistake. No, it was a freckle. She couldn't reach. Her fingers couldn't reach.
Honestly, I think this whole kind of figure conversation is also really interesting when you are thinking about it from when Rudy made it. That he made it detachable. Like, okay, that fits with the Rudy that made it. That was a little bit more longer ago. But the fact that it's not just detachable and then it's like a Barbie, you know, but a 3rd arm to cover herself. And like, obviously he had his reasons why he liked this idea, but still, I just find that inclusion of like, oh, but she's also covering herself interesting.
What's under Ruijerd's clothes?
What is under... Are Ruijerd's clothes detachable?
Does he have a second spear? Where is it? You know?
Yes.
I really, really like the show. Like, it's interesting because on a lot of fronts, especially starting the show, there are things that like do make me uncomfortable or have made me uncomfortable, and I know that like that's the intention going into a story. That's why stories forever have had antagonists and protagonists and moralities from black to white and everything between, you know? But it's crazy even like having that like place in my body or in my heart that I'm a little like reluctant to like just 100% gush over something. Yeah. It wins me over again and again. And like the writing is so well done. And it's just so lovable. I don't think I've ever... it's been so long since I've enjoyed the secondary characters, as in Eris and Ruijerd to Rudy, in like forever. It feels like this nostalgic, like Brock and Misty type, like, but it's not just nostalgia like that makes it good. It's like actually like great writing and how great their characters are. I feel like it makes so much sense. Eris is at the point where she is and how she talks about Rudy. And it just feels so natural. And like, she knows what Rudy's also been through and the hardships he's been through and is protective of that. Yeah. It's beautiful.
And when you think about something that, other than those things and how she feels about Rudy, you know, you could just explain that up with, oh, well, this is the person she spent all this time with. And when you think back to when we first met Eris and what her personality was and how she treated other people, and then you go to the scene in this episode where Rui Jerd is like, no, Eris, like, Aisha is vital to protect. And she puts both of her hands on Aisha's head and pulls Aisha closer. You know, that shows that, like, Eris's growth hasn't just been, like, focused on, my treatment of Rudy and my relationship with Rudy and my connection with Rudy, I've grown or matured in any sort of way. It shows that, like, she is viewing other people in a different way than she did when we first met her.
Yep. It's great.
It's nice. It's so nice.
I'm a little worried that, like, in my, like, sometimes you think of the worst case scenarios, especially when it's like such a good ending.
Mm-hmm.
How awful would it be if there was like another Mana disaster? And like, oh, we've gotten this far, restart. Or like, we don't even know what happened, what caused it, what the reasoning for it was.
That would be, honestly, that would be insane if that happened again. I don't know how I would feel if it actually happened.
I don't know what
I'd
the
be
purpose
like, what's
was.
the purpose of this other than to, like, make everything chaotic again? I feel like we have a story we're telling that was used in order to, like, turn things up, so growth had to happen, so a journey had to happen.
Yeah.
And any usage of bringing it back to such a scale, I couldn't see a purpose in it.
I want to know what the purpose of it was still.
Yeah, why it even happened.
Yeah.
I also want to compliment the Shrona Kingdom for exiling for study abroad.
Yeah.
Their kids once they figured out what they were doing. I honestly thought Pax must have murdered his whole family for what he was getting away with. But apparently he was just really... It's a big castle and no one actually knew what he was up
preoccupied.
to. His older brother, the Decapitator Prince, was preoccupied, and he didn't know what was going on because it's not like he had any servants or subordinates to tell him what his brother was up to because he gave them all to Pax.
Yeah.
He traded them.
I want to take one more look at the episodes ago, in episode 14 when we had like the after credit of Soros being beheaded. Just like, I feel like I need to make sure we haven't we haven't seen any of these characters in this past episode, which I don't
Other than like
have.
the one character that looks like a gray-haired Sylphie with sunglasses on,
which I think is something to note, definitely. But the blonde dude, the king, the blonde girl who looks kind of related. I don't know.
She has main character energy.
She does have main character energy, yeah. God. All right, that's all I have. Oh, other than Ginger York.
Ginger York.
I knew it. Had to. There are just some characters, you know.
Mm-hmm. That you just trust automatically when you meet them. You just know.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I had a plan in the works from the beginning. Had to have. Definitely. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And we hope to see you next time.
I honestly thought Pax must have murdered his whole family for what he was getting away with. I honestly thought Pax must have murdered his whole family for what he was getting away with. I honestly thought Pax must have murdered his whole family for what he was getting away with.
I honestly thought Pax must have murdered his whole family for what he was getting away with.